Okay. Now in the time of the meeting is the time for open forum. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to celebrating district successes. 4.1, I'd like to welcome Doug Schmidt and his team to our meeting. Thanks for joining us tonight. Also, Dave Klott, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hello.
Mike, is Diane here? Did I see her come?
Diane is right there in the middle of the screen like the
Oh.
Brady Bunch. So,
I have a glare. I'm sorry, Diane.
So we've got a few of our teachers on here tonight. We've got, go ahead, Diane.
We got this award last spring, but of course, since we were kind of closed down, we didn't get a chance to celebrate. So this was the second year we received the award for Best Communities for Music Education, and it's sponsored by the National Association of Music Merchants. It's a long survey process and lots of questions to answer about how Albert Lee supports music education, and we were excited to win the award once again. So Doug, would you like to tell them a little bit more about the award?
Yes, thanks, Diane. And thanks to you for your efforts in going after the award. I'd love to hear more about that because it is a 53-page survey that you had to complete and get all the details just right to earn this win. So without you, that never would have happened. So Diane, bravo, thank you. So first of all, welcome to you from all of your friends at Schmidt Music, including my brother Tom and me, along with two of our sons, Pete and Ted, who represent our 5th generation of family management, along with a fine staff at our Rochester store. The recently retired after 30 plus years manager, his name is Kevin McGarry, and our brand new manager, Jessica Daly. So we all love to support everything you're doing in music education, and these kind of celebrations are just such a great part of our lives to be able to help you with. We just celebrated our 124th anniversary in November. And NAM is kind of a bad name because it stands for the National Association of Music Merchants, but it actually represents the Worldwide Association of Music Merchants. So I think they should rename it WHAM. A joke. I'm trying to lighten this up a little. So NAM was established in 1901, a few years after our company started. And it is the association that helps to strengthen our $17 billion global music industry. So in 1998, they came up with this idea to help celebrate the best communities for music education. So now in its 22nd year, the award program continues to celebrate and recognize innovative and resourceful music education programs in the United States and those schools and communities that support them. This comprehensive survey requests information that reveals statistical and factual information about music education and related opportunities for students to learn music. This new survey was developed in partnership with the Music Research Institute at the University of Kansas and WordCraft LLC. Survey questions are aligned for goals for equity and access to music education for all students, and also with national standards for music education. As I mentioned before, Diane was the one who did the yeoman's work of filling out this big survey. Also, thanks to Superintendent Mike Funk and the entire Albert Lee School Board. I'd love it if you guys would take a few pictures of as many people as are in the room with your awards. I brought the awards down yesterday in that nice bitter cold, and Diane made sure they were all spread around, but NAM loves to get those pictures. I just sent some pictures from one of your fellow districts in Minnesota, their little district called Ulen-Hitterdal. And they had a picture of their superintendent holding his award, and then he put it in the window of his office. And those are all things that they just love to get. So if you could shoot me some of those pictures and give them to Diane, or maybe she can take them, that would be just awesome. Now, in the U.S., 754 school districts won. That sounds like a lot, but there are more than 14,000 school districts in the U.S., so that represents just 5% of the districts. Now, Schmidt Music services more than 400 districts across our whole territory, and just 21 in our sales territory, also just 5%. That just happened to be. So you guys consider yourself in the top 5% of music districts in the nation. That's really a really cool honor. And thanks to Diane for going after it and you guys for earning the win. And we're here to help and do anything we can to make it that way. If I misspelled any of the names or missed anybody, just let Diane know and she can let me know. And it takes real, instant work, and we can get that done and send you the fresh awards. So that's all I've got, but thank you, Albert Lee, and congratulations. Bravo.
Yay. Thanks, Doug. Thanks for making the trip yesterday. It was darn cold out there.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I didn't fill it out for this year because we are feeling not very out in the forefront this year, and it's been a rough year for all of us performances, all performing arts. We're hoping at the high school to have some sort of a concert or performance in the spring, and whether that's in the auditorium, if the things are the rules are relaxed, or it could be out on the football field or at the band shell or whatever. But we're hoping to have some kind of performance opportunities for our students. They're missing it, and we've got sports going and we've got other things happening. So I think it's time for us to bring back our music folks as well.
Yeah.
And we hope that our elementary folks can kind of return to their classrooms eventually this spring. That'd be so nice for them.
I've heard that.
We're looking with trepidation a little bit about our numbers, our sign up for next year. We know that many districts throughout the state are losing kids for numbers, and it's been a bummer for all of us this year. So we're going to have to do some recruiting and building back our strong programs, and we hope that we have the school board support in that and our administrative support as well as we kind of step back a little bit and then full force ahead again for next year.
This is an important step in that process, so thank you for doing that. And I wouldn't look down on what you're trying to do this year. Nobody knows the roadmap for this year, and it's just a matter of keeping the wheels on and trying to keep the kids motivated. And we're going to all get through this stupid pandemic before you know it, get our vaccines, and get back to normal. And it's a crazy time, but we all have to make lemonade out of lemons. So thank you.
Well, we've got good wheels on our bus. We got good teachers in our district. So
yes.
Thanks again. That's all I have.
All right. Nice work, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Congratulations. All right, moving on to number 5, approval of today's agenda. Before we do that, I'd like to remove 9.1. That report will not be given. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Moving on to number 6, consent items. Do I have a motion to approve consent items?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to reports, superintendent report.
Tonight, I'll just be providing a quick legislative update for what has been transpiring up in, by Zoom and maybe somewhat in person in St. Paul. Go ahead, Ashley. So last week, we had some good news, or the state of Minnesota did, regarding the economics. The revenues increased $296 million more than projected, so the November forecast was good. This forecast was even better. So we're going to have the full report later this month, but the more tax dollars that are flowing in, the better it will be for the budget, and the better it'll be for government overall. So that was a positive. So 2 bills of interest to the district. In the Senate really hasn't done anything yet from a financial angle, but the House has taken a couple things that are real important, I think, to Albert Lee. First one, I think personally that this is a stretch. But the House is proposing to increase the general aid formula by 2% this year, 2% the following year, and then tie it to inflation moving forward. I think that would be a great thing for education. I just don't see that passing both houses. So, but that's a really good first step. I'm shocked, actually, that the House proposal is higher than the governor's on the general aid formula. The governor was 1 and 2.5. The second bill, again, this is important for our district, as we're going to be going out again in the fall for another referendum to renew our expiring referendum. This would allow school districts with board authority to renew the referendum that is currently in place. So we wouldn't have to go ask the taxpayers to renew a referendum. You could do it with a board action. You know, the interesting thing about this, as many of you have heard over the years, is city councils can levy new taxes, counties, boards can levy new taxes, but the school district is really limited in what they can do regarding that. And so we wouldn't be actually adding new taxes in this. This would just be a straight renewal. So this is the first time I can remember in the past decade that this is getting a lot of discussion at the Capitol level. There's been talk about it behind the scenes before, but this seems to be the first time that this is really has some legs. The other interesting thing, the number of, I think since 2013, a number of districts have gone out for straight renewals. 100% of them have passed. So it saves districts money from having to have their own elections and hire election officials and print ballots. So we'll see where that one heads moving forward here. So both of these may move forward in the House, and I don't know if they have companion bills in the Senate yet, but or at least I don't know if I don't think the first one does, but the second one might. And then education policy. This one is interesting, and I am not sure what to think about this one, but they would like to put within the PELRA, which governs our employee relations and negotiations, they would like to put class sizes, something that can be negotiated is class sizes and student and staff ratios under conditions of employment. So this would be something that could be costly to districts moving forward if that were put into collective bargaining agreements, but that's something to be aware of. And I think that's what I have from the state tonight.
Any questions for Superintendent Funk? Thank you. All right, let's move on to school board member reports. Angie, do you want to start?
All right, is this on? There it goes. All right, I was just with Neil in the Finance Committee. This is why we were just a little bit late. Just a real brief summary of that. Everything is up in the air, and we will have a revised budget being presented to us shortly once we have some more COVID funds coming in from the state, which should help quite a bit. But everything is, as I said, still up in the air. Jennifer did say enrollment numbers are down a little bit, but it sounds like they're not down nearly as much as a lot of other schools, so that's a good thing. Do you guys want me to do the presentation for business education too? Okay. On the 5th, I was in the Business Education Committee with Kim and Dennis. Kim, I was thinking I would just skip the greater education part since you were probably going to cover that. Under new projects, the two main things that we talked about was Leadership 2.0, which was something that would be offered to graduates of the Albert Lee Leadership Program and the Blanding graduates. So that sounded pretty exciting. We also, we also discussed the idea of offering some possible training sessions for local business employees. Things such as communication skills, developing a team, customer service, etc. Let's see. The Workforce Development is offering presentations currently on the Pathway Home Project, which is a grant that is being offered through Department of Labor to assist justice-involved individuals. So if anyone's interested, they're offering presentations for that. There will be one in March. Let's see. We spoke briefly about the Bridges to Healthcare program, which is being done in Rochester right now. We're looking at bringing that into Albert Lee with a partnership of Riverland, the Workforce Development, and Mayo. And that is something that recruits and supports and prepares adult learners as they train to fill in healthcare positions in the area. And then finally, Workforce Development is again sponsoring the Best Places to Work program for the 11th year. And if I forgot something, I probably did. Please jump in and mention it, but that's what I've got.
Also attended the business education. Only thing I would add to that, and I actually found really intriguing, is the future forward. John Double's been working really hard on that, and I forget who the contact name is in Rochester, but I had a chance to visit with him.
Sarah Ness she's kind of the lead, but there might be someone who works for her that you probably visited with.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was one of the guys' names. I don't have my papers here. They're in my other binder. But I had the chance to go online and actually work through it, and it was really fairly easy to do. I was very impressed with that. And then you can actually have other staff go in and with their expertise. And I just think it's going to be a very great opportunity for businesses and for the school and for students to be able to work with that. So I was very impressed with that and how it's developing. Then we also had our policy meeting with Jill and Kim and I, and it was the Policy 604, the instructional curriculum. A lot of the changes are coming through with the MSBA and how that will work. So that was our first opportunity to see that. Really no other ones. Only thing I did want to comment on, and just thinking about it the other day, is the amount of time that our district has spent into the opportunities for the students and the curriculums, and maybe how demanding as a board we are sometimes, but our teachers and administration, the amount of time and energy that they've had to put in this year has been pretty phenomenal, and the hope would be that spring break gives everybody a chance to take a deep breath, because it's hard to believe that we're already into February and we had to restart everything back in September here, and every change and every requirement that's been asked or needed. And I just want to know, I want the school district to know how appreciative I myself are of everything that you guys have been through this year.
Yeah, I can second what Dennis just said. I've talked to a number of teachers, some of whom have been in the business for over 25 years, and the common comment that I hear is, I haven't worked as hard since my first year of teaching. It's just, there are no good alternatives with this pandemic, and most of it just involves a lot of hard work and time spent. I also would like to piggyback what you said about the Future Forward program. I'm impressed with that too, and I've stumbled across it in various contexts. A couple of businesses have contacted, or I've talked to people involved in who have received information about this either through John or through some other source. And yeah, I've went to the same website you did, Dennis, and it's pretty impressive. And I'm excited about that. It fits right into a lot of the goals that I personally have as a board member, and that I have for our district. I attended along with Kim the Education Foundation meeting, and Kim may want to concentrate on some other subjects. But for me, the thing that I'm involved in there is determining 3 honorariums, or whatever you'd want to call it. And we need the public involved in this because we need to have nominations for, number 1, Athletic Hall of Fame, 2nd, Distinguished Alumni, and 3rd, Distinguished Educators. And we have 2 banquets. Hopefully we'll have them this year in September usually. One is the Athletic Hall of Fame banquet, and the other is the Distinguished Educator and Distinguished Alumni banquet. So I would encourage the public to visit the Education Foundation's website or contact me or any board member of the foundation, because we need to get going on the banquets for this summer, and we need to get going on getting some candidates for Athletic Hall of Fame, Distinguished Alumni, and Distinguished Educator, so we can get going on that. That's it.
I also attended the policy committee right now, and then I had sat in on the new member orientation with Angie and Bruce a few weeks ago. I also attended the Family Services Collaborative meeting, and the Joint Powers Agreement is still under review in the state. We discussed the parent coach position and worked through the job description of that, and some other updates in the county. And then today there was a short meeting regarding applying for the Positive Community Norms Grant, also known as the PCN grant. Since some of the other grants had expired that were funding a lot of the programs here, this is a large grant that we'll be applying for, and it's kind of, you probably have seen it in surrounding districts, the big billboards that say something like 80% of our students don't drink, those kind of positive messaging. So whether it's a billboard or in a restroom or around the community, the thing about this one is, even though the collaborative serves the whole county, this particular grant does need to be housed in a district, and so there's been talk about housing it here in the Albert Lea district, if possible, if we are able to achieve this grant, and then maybe use some of the funding through the ATOD group to do similar types of things for Alden, Conger, and Glenville areas. And so today, the collaborative took action to contract with Lana Howe to work along with our facilitator, Jenny Hendrickson, to apply for that grant. Thank you.
I attended the last Teacher of the Year celebration. The Teacher of the Year celebration this year is going to be April 7th at 3 o'clock in the Hammer parking lot. A lot of people are working very hard behind the scenes. I've been to a lot of Teacher of the Year celebrations and think, gee, that just happened, but a lot of work goes into it. It's too bad that, talking about what Dennis and Neil said, too bad that every teacher can't be recognized this year for all the extra work they've been put in, but it should be a good celebration. They got a good plan.
Nothing new to report, Kim. Thanks.
So I attended several of the meetings, but the only one that I really wanted to make sure that we touched on was the Education Foundation meeting and the Albert Lea Greater Education Project meeting. And so what's happened is we're in that transition of the work that the Education Foundation was doing with that project and making it more under John Doubles, which was always his responsibility, but it's really, we're working with him, and we are supporters and partners of his to lay out that program. And so that we had a presentation on Future Forward. We also talked about who else should be at that table with the Greater Albert Lea, or the Albert Lea Greater Education Project. And, maybe somebody from manufacturing, someone from healthcare. But just moving forward with those initiatives and how do we support our students in the community that while we support economic development. And so it's a great initiative, and we're excited about where this leads, and we're in good hands with John. And he has a lot of supports, workforce development, the chamber, the Education Foundation are all at the table helping him. So wanted to update on that. Okay, I think I got everybody, right? Thank you, everybody, for your updates. We've been a busy bunch. Yeah, Aaron, student school board report.
Yeah, I have no report.
Teacher report. Sorry.
I would just like to pass along to you a couple of things. I have been teaching in the distance learning format since the beginning of the school year. And one of the things that has been afforded us this year has been having virtual conferences with parents. And I would say that it was a resounding success from my point of view. I was able to connect with about 63% of my parents. Very good conversations, many of which revolved around the fact that our distance learning format for Southwest has been very consistent since day one. I can't tell you how many of my parents said that they really appreciated the fact that really nothing was going to interrupt the consistency that their kids had with the distance learning format that we have put together. They were very appreciative of the fact that they didn't need to leave their house for conferences either. We could do that over a Google Meet. So in general, the conferences that were done virtually this year were what I would call a very nice, pleasant success this year.
Would you say that with your other DLA, the other teachers in DLA, were they experiencing those same kind of outcomes?
Yes, we have had conversations, many conversations daily about not only our kids and the successes and the struggles that we've run into this year, but the same success that I had at conferences was shared by my other colleagues as well. I can't speak to the high school and I can't speak to the elementaries, but I know that Southwest had a very good experience with the virtual conferences and many very positive compliments from the parents as well.
Thank you, everybody, for your reports. Nothing under safe and healthy schools, so we'll move right into curriculum and instruction. 9.2, fourth quarter learning model discussion. Mike, do you want to, is there, okay.
I'll also be joined by two other staff. So this is Lisa Duggar, one of our licensed school nurses, and Kari Osheim, one of our other licensed school nurses. So they're going to talk a little bit. So I just want to bring you up to date on second semester, kind of where we are. Good. So this is what you see daily on Facebook. Actually, Freeborn County Public Health publishes a really nice set of data. And every day, this is our school age numbers. So blue is 0 to 4. For us, that'd be preschool and VPK. Ages 5 to 9 in red. Yellow is 10 to 14, and then 15 to 19. So what I've done is taken all these numbers since we started back second semester. And up through today, you'll see that pretty high in the first 2 weeks of January. And now this is all of Freeborn County, so not necessarily Albert Lee area school students. They can be students not only from Glenville and Alden, but also students who live in Freeborn County but attend schools in Austin, New Richland, even as far away as Waseca. If they live in Freeborn County, they're attributed to us. So what I think is really significant for you to see is how that has dropped, in particular in the last 10 days for school-aged positive, lab-confirmed positive test results for students that are reported to us. These are also reported to the Department of Health, and then our school nurses work with the Department of Health if a parent has released that information to be released to the school. Lisa's pretty much our contact on that. So just want to give you an overview of where we've been second semester. So on to the next. In January, we had 17 staff positives, and from that, 7 classrooms, either whole or partial, were quarantined, and those were all early elementary, if not preschool, in the elementary as well. 4 self-contained classrooms, so we know that some of our highest risk classrooms are those with students with significant needs, high numbers of staff in that room relative to the number of students in the room. We also had 53 student positives, and 6 classrooms, either whole or partial, were quarantined, 2 self-contained classrooms, 4 elementary/preschool. So you'll see with, go ahead.
We'll get you these slides too, so you don't have to, if you don't want to take notes, we'll get them to you.
Yep. So that's everything we know. You know, there could be other cases out there of students or staff who don't inform us, but that is we've got some, we're pretty good on these numbers. So you'll see that 17 staff positives impact as much as 53 students for the most part. So moving forward to February, as you saw on the first slide, we're having good numbers. In February, so far, we've had 7 total positives. We have 2 active cases right now in the district out of 217 total for the year. One of those will fall off this week, and one is an extended quarantine due to some underlying health issues, so much longer than a normal quarantine. 2, let's see, kind of lost my thought there. Second semester, so total we've had 83 positives, 48 of those occurred on site. 35 were not on site, so either, you know, they informed us in January, but they were positive over winter break, or they were due to some mitigation strategies. So might have been a classroom that was quarantined and a student developed or a staff member developed COVID over the course of that quarantine. So those are our numbers as we know them. So I'm going to turn this over to Lisa and to Kari, because they do this and so much more.
Thank you for having us back. I know I was here in the fall, and what a ride it's been. It's been wild. For contact tracing, we follow the 6 feet for 15 minutes or closer. So if they're closer than 6 feet for 15 minutes or closer or longer, we exclude students. And that has been our standard that we followed the whole time. In the elementary, if, and I did, a student is identified as positive on site, we identify the close contacts, and in the elementary, that usually includes the whole classroom because of the amount of time and the students move around within the classroom. Then for the busing, we love our bus company, but we've gotten to where we really don't like our students when they ride the bus because it does become very difficult. We have to exclude 2 rows ahead, 2 rows behind, and across. We end up working closely with the bus company. They review their attendance for their, if they rode the bus, and for how long they've been on the bus. And they also look at their videotape. Thank goodness they haven't asked us to do that. And also our principals, Mr. Halverson, Mr. DeBoll, have been very helpful with that when we've had to do that. Getting to our secondary, our physical distancing in the classrooms, that has been something that we've worked very hard on from the beginning, because we would end up excluding students because we weren't quite the 6 feet. So we have gone through, Mr. Grossklaus and Chris Dibble have had their tape measures, measuring distance in the classrooms. So that is something that would change, is the distancing. Lunch continues to be a area that's difficult, in that we usually do have students who are excluded during the lunch time because of the removal of the masks for eating. And the bus, the same tracing is done. Did you want to add anything with that? Okay. Just want to check. Other mitigation strategies the school district has done is the thermal scanner at the doors with masks available for everyone. And we have a few students who do not wear masks, but they have to provide medical documentation for that. And staff can also wear a shield if needed. We do daily check-ins with follow-up, and that includes Colette Lillibridge goes through the screenings every day. If they answer yes to if anyone in the household has COVID-like symptoms, or if anyone is ill, she personally contacts each of them to do further follow-up. If they answer yes, if they have COVID-like symptoms or loss of taste or smell, then the licensed school nurses do the follow-up with that. That sometimes getting a hold of the parent is challenging. We also do texting, emails. We also call absent students, families, when we're unclear of their absence reason. And with that, Tara Roberts through the high school is our person that follows through with that, and Kelly Callis, who is our attendance clerk at the high school. Isolation and quarantine with guidance. Sometimes we need to follow up on that guidance. Isolation, when we contact the families, we go through the student, and then we go through their family or anybody else that lives in the household to determine when they need, how long their quarantine needs to last. Sometimes these calls with parents can be very, very difficult. I think I've cried more this year when I have left work than I have in my whole 30 years of being a nurse. We do have most parents that are very understanding, but when you're calling, telling them that their child is being excluded, they want to know specifics, which we cannot give them because of confidentiality. And that's been really hard. We also do reminders about distancing, staff reminders for times when students are not around, and to consult with teacher leadership support. We do testing of staff every other week in their building of choice, which is the saliva testing. And we have had a couple of staff who tested positive and were asymptomatic. So we were able to break that continued spread with that. And tomorrow is the next day that we do saliva testing in the district. We continue with the cleaning protocols of the facilities, hygiene protocols for students and staff to include antibacterial gels and cleaning products. We also have Mdh Contacts. We have 2 people who are assigned to our region that we work closely with. And with Freeborn County Public Health, we work very closely with Sue Yost and with Anita Majerus. And in addition to those meetings, we have Minnesota Department of Health has their consultation with the school nurses throughout the state every Wednesday from 10:30 to 11:30, and they give us the interpretations of the state that we follow for their guidelines. And every Friday we have the emergency preparedness meeting with Freeborn County Public Health, and there are a lot of community members involved, the businesses and different areas. I know Jill has been on that too. Some challenges that we see with this is busing, lunch, classrooms maintaining of the 6-foot radius, which is we won't be able to do. Some concerns are spring break and Easter. The numbers usually for the secondary, we've averaged around 2 to 4 exclusions, and with the decrease, that number will, the decrease in the distancing will definitely increase. And I know Kathy has a really good slide about that. But contact tracing, it's a lot of work. It's very intensive. Did you have anything?
I think the only thing I would add is just kind of to follow up on what Lisa said with the contact tracing in the secondary is, you know, Lisa mentioned we first talk with the parents, kind of get permission, and then we talk with that secondary student and start at the beginning of their day to the end of their day. And depending, you know, when we're finding out that they're positive and then when their test was, if they were on site with symptoms, there's times when we've traced up to 4 days worth. So then we're tracing through 4 days. For right now, it's only their hybrid days. So 4 days would have been 2 days on site when we're in the hybrid, and that shortened class time with distancing. So that would be a big change, is that we'd have, you know, potentially 4 full days of a full school day with full classrooms to contact trace. So we go through with the student, go through their day, and then we also touch base with each teacher. Sometimes that's the principals help us out by contacting them. Sometimes we'll do a Google Meet with teachers. We've kind of, it's varied throughout the school year and kind of with what works and what time of day or night, weekend it is. And then there's times when we need to consult to cameras and things when, you know, there's discrepancies or things like that. But it's definitely a multi-step process. Sometimes that's getting practice plans from coaches of the schedule of their practice and what cohorts they were in, and that's just getting to who the contacts are. And once we have the contacts, be it 4 or up to much larger numbers when sports and buses get involved, then it's getting the contact information for all those parents, and we have a letter kind of from the Department of Health in collaboration with the school district, and we call each family, often times leaving a message and having kind of follow up and go over dates and guidelines and their plan for continuing their educational needs during that time that the teachers then follow up on. But I think it's definitely a process that we've definitely gotten all kinds of support, you know, with administration and teachers and principals and everyone being willing to help us out any time of day and nights and weekends. But it's definitely a process, even in the situation that we're in now.
The one other thing I wanted to make a comment about is we really try very hard to get hold of the people, the parents, so their student doesn't come to school and expose potentially other people. And otherwise, the student has to be pulled right away and sent home, which we don't like to do that if we don't have to.
Can I ask, when the students are sent home, are they given instructions to kind of isolate themselves from the rest of the family?
Yes, we always give them those instructions, and that's part of the letter through the Minnesota Department of Health that has that information. And that's a huge question that family has, is how does this affect everyone else in the household? And hopefully their student will stay healthy, will not develop symptoms, and then they do recommend testing 5 to 7 days after their last exposure. So it's a lot of information to give parents, and we email it. We always verify an email because we want to send it to them right then, and then we mail it by standard mail.
Thank you. And I don't know if you'd have the answer to this question, but do all buses have cameras on them now? I know they didn't used to.
I can't guarantee that all do. The vast majority of them do.
Thank goodness the ones we worked with have.
They do amazing work.
Thank you, Kari.
And we do send 2 documents to staff as well when they get to quarantine, and that is the attendance guide, which really is for parents and families, but it talks all about what it means to close contact, what does it mean for the rest of your family, and then there's the quarantine guide, which has been updated a couple of times by the Department of Ed and Department of Health. So this is from the new guidance, February 12th from CDC. You know, how to reopen schools safely. It's been all over the news. So just some significant pieces that we felt we wanted to share with you, that schools that are open for in-person instruction may decide to remain open even at high red levels, and I'm going to show you what that means in a second. Should be guided by school-specific factors, mitigation strategies, which we've shared, local needs, input, cases among students, teachers, and staff. Decision to remain open should involve considerations for further strengthening mitigation strategies, monitor cases, and then it should be classroom first approach. In-person instruction should be prioritized over extracurricular activities, including sports and school events, a common source of school transmission, to minimize risk of transmission in schools and protect in-person learning. So that's right from the guidance. And then what are the mitigation strategies? And so you've already heard, we do a lot of these already. So certainly the universal and correct use of masks, and I will say it's been pretty good in the districts with the use of masks from what we see, and I know I'm in my own little cubby, but I think out in the real world where all the kids are, I think for the most part it's pretty good. Physical distancing, we're very good about that. Hand washing, respiratory etiquette, cleaning, contact tracing. Universal and correct use of masks and physical distancing are the 2 priority mitigation strategies. And physical distancing, at least 6 feet, should be maximized to the greatest extent possible.
So that's key, all right? They're not mandating 6 feet. They're stating physical distancing should be maximized to the greatest extent possible. It's interesting when they came out with this guidance. So this is the new guidance. The other piece of this is the quarantine guidance for 6 feet, 15 minutes has not changed. But they have come out with new guidance, and again, this is directly correlated to try and get schools open, is saying that we're not requiring kids, this is CDC, this is not the Minnesota Department of Health yet, but this is the federal government saying they should be maximized to the greatest extent possible. They realize if our kids are going to be coming back full, we will never be able to, because of the size of our schools and our classrooms, we will not be able to be 6 feet. So the guidance has shifted to maximum extent possible.
And so then does the guidance for the quarantining, does that come from CDC or is that state level?
State.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So we'll go to the next. So this is the new 7-day guidance, which the previous guidance was 14-day guidance. And so you'll see high transmission is greater than 100, and I'll show you the CDC link there where we're at. And then, the low is 0 to 9, and then less than 5%. So this is the dashboard. If we click on the next page, you can just go to the next one. So this is as of today. I pulled this off late this afternoon. So this is our current 7-day total for our county in Minnesota. 7-day, 43 cases, which is 142 per 100,000. So you'll see that that's higher than the 100. And then our percent positivity, however, is 3.92, which if you've been following the Mdh data that was released today, you'll see that is higher, but this is the most current.
So go back a slide, Ashley. So on this slide, we are on that top line. Our number is 142. So we are in the highest transmission box in Freeborn County because our numbers are so high. They've come down significantly. They're still dropping, but we're still at the highest transmission box. The other piece of that, though, is the low transmission as far as the percentage of positive cases. We're at 3.92. So we are kind of a dichotomy as a county right now. We are at the highest transmission level as far as numbers, but our percent positives are in the lowest category. So what I see happening is those two things, I think our highest numbers are going to continue to drop, and you're going to see some sort of balance there coming forward. But those are just two opposite indicators of where we're at as a county.
So, it will change significantly on Thursday with the 7-day average. All right, so on to the next. So where are we with vaccinations? We started the first couple of weeks we had 39 slots, 35 staff actually were able to get in. Some districts sent more than they were supposed to, and so some slots got eaten up by other people. But we know 35, give or take. I think at least 2 were waitlisted and also have been called back to Rochester for shots. Those were the Pfizer vaccine 3 weeks apart, and then working with the Freeborn County Public Health, as Lisa said, Anita and Sue, we've been able to get 23 health-related staff who will be going for their second dose this week, and 342 other staff. In addition, we do have 78 lined up for this week. The Freeborn County was notified that they haven't come in yet because of the national weather issues. So was supposed to be Wednesday night, and as of about 1 o'clock this afternoon, we will still have our 78 slots, but they've been moved to Friday. So they're hoping they will arrive before Friday. So you can see how somewhat precarious this is. We estimate to have 400 staff with the first dose by the end of this week, and that includes Chartwell's, our food service, Albert Lee bus, subs, and some coaches. Certainly not all. And then we do know we have at least 6 other staff who have been able to get their shot through a different opportunity. This is our 5th week of first doses, and second dose for Pfizer shots last week and this week. So that first group of 35 will have their second dose, if all goes well, by the end of this week. So that's kind of where we are. So this is very hypothetical. So say you brought all the kids back, and this is at Southwest. So we do have a contact tracer option in Synergy. It's a monster. It's too big to use on a daily basis. But what I did was I took 2 students. So on the left is a 7th grade student who participates in all classes plus band. And on the right is a 7th grade student who participates in all of the required classes, plus also has some unique classes due to some special needs. And so if this student is these students would be the yellow box in the middle there, surrounded by 8 other students. Was able to generate a couple of spreadsheets, remove lunch from their schedule. They really, instead of 128 students, because that includes all the lunch students that student would be with, they really end up being with 83 unique students during the day. And then the other student is with 78 unique students during the day. So, assuming that we cohorted or podded students, and assuming that they sat alphabetically in every class, which we know would be a struggle, I did an analysis of how many unique students, again, hypothetically, this student would be exposed to, assuming they weren't in the corner, they weren't in the front, but smack dab surrounded by 8 students every hour. So the first student would probably be identified as 40 students throughout the course of the day that would be within 6 feet, because we weren't able to physically distance 6 feet in that classroom if all of our 7th grade students were back on site. Doesn't include lunch, doesn't include the bus. And then the other student, similar, but a few less students, about 32 students. Assuming that advisory, I talked with Mr. Dibble last week, they could probably physically distance an advisory, and then some of those smaller class sizes for special needs would probably be able to physically distance. So, and this would be, a positive student in the classroom. Assuming they didn't move around, assuming they sat alphabetically, and again, very hypothetical, but that's an attempt at what that might look like.
Not necessarily alphabetically, but by cohort.
By a cohort,
right.
Yeah. I did alphabetically just to make it, so I could identify those students. But you'll see that this student is exposed to 83 during the day, and the other student to 78, not including staff members, which are 7 and 9.
Which would be quarantined. I mean, not quarantined, vaccinated
Yep.
At this point before we brought them back.
Yep.
So the reason Kathy has gone into this amount of detail is to really provide you background with, okay, if we as a district make a decision to bring everybody back, all right, here are some factors that are in play here. And I will tell you, our nurses, they joke with me on Thursdays because we don't meet on Fridays. So I say, okay, let's have a good weekend. Let's not talk to anybody. And invariably, every single weekend, they're working and, doing contact tracing. So when if we decide to bring everybody back, we're not going to be doing the 6 feet social distancing, so we are going to potentially expose more students. So Ashley, go back to that first or second slide that Kathy had here. Keep on going. This slide right here. So, I told the board my recommendation at this point is to not have a recommendation not to do anything, and we're going to hear from Corey here in a minute from what the teachers' perspective on this is, and we're going to hear a little bit more from Chris and Mark about what a potential schedule would look like. But I think the most important data for this board to consider is this slide here. As you can see, in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10 days, all right, we've had, I think, 4 positives in our secondary in the district. So my thought is, let's see where this trend line goes. And if we come back here March 1st, and we are looking at 0, 0, 0, 0s across the board here, I can be more comfortable with the recommendation to do something different for quarter 4. Because I think from what the nurses explained to you and what Kathy shared, the amount of work that our staff is putting into to keep our students and our staff safe is incredible in a hybrid environment. It'll just be that much more in a full in-person environment if these numbers don't stabilize. And they are. I mean, they are looking much better than they were. So that's kind of why we wanted to kind of give you the COVID background of where we're at and where we've been. And then also, I know that the secondary teachers met last week to talk about it, because we've been very transparent with the ALEA that this is something that the district's looking at. So I'd like to give Corey the opportunity, if you want to share feedback that, from the teachers on that.
Okay. Do you want me to be on a mic? Yeah.
Before Corey starts, I really just want to call out the work that Kathy and Kari and Lisa have done. I'm in awe when I look at the slides, and I feel like we kind of opened a big can of worms for you. We understand that, and you delivered great information, and I just can't thank you enough for taking the time to put that together for us. And it kind of echoes what Dennis and Neil said earlier. We do really appreciate it, and I'm just thankful. So I wanted to make sure. Thank you so much for sharing.
As it was stated last Tuesday, I believe, the secondary teachers got together and discussed many of the things that are surrounding this topic. And the ALEA met with, I know there were well over 100 people in this meeting, and many things were said, many concerns, many questions were brought about. And overwhelmingly, the teachers want to be able to teach in a safe environment and in a consistent environment. In addition to that, our ALEA leadership meets with people from all corners of the state. On a weekly basis, they're in these meetings. And I can share with you that the things that they're hearing from other leadership in other districts reaffirms what we're doing in this district is good, and it is very positive. So the ALE leadership attend weekly meetings with districts from all over the state, and they've noticed from the concerns that all of the other leaders are bringing to these meetings that what we must be doing here is working. And it's keeping us safe. And that was also brought up resoundingly with the teachers in the district here, is what we're doing is working. In light of the situation, which has not been a very, very fun situation to have to work through, what we're doing here is working, and it's keeping us safe. Thank you.
So, questions, I guess, from any of the board members on what we presented tonight, and just general thoughts in general.
Thank you, Corey, for sharing with us. We appreciate that. Anybody have anything that they want? Go ahead, Dennis.
The question I'm thinking of is, we're getting the staff vaccinated and in a good spot there. Does that change anything for us? Does that make the scenarios safer for us, or is that still too much of an unknown for us?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. And one, Kim, I skipped right over Mary Jo here, and so she's got some parent feedback for the board we're going to get to here. I would recommend you listen to in a minute here. We did a quick survey of parents. But to your question, Dennis, as of yet, the CDC has basically come out and said if you have 2 shots and you've got a 14-day buildup of shots, then of your second shot, then you don't have to quarantine. We've not heard that from the Department of Health yet. So we're still waiting on that. But however, I do want to say this. Governor Walz will be speaking later this week about opening up secondary schools in Minnesota. So I think you're going to hear more related to that. I think you're going to see some modifications from the Department of Health and the Department of Education regarding the Safe Learning Plan. But, but we want to make sure. And the good part is we talked about vaccinating our staff. I had a Big 9 meeting last week. Other staff members have talked to other people in southern Minnesota. I mean, we are For our in-person staff, we are pretty much, I would say 90-some% vaccinated of those who want it with the first shot, and we will be getting the second one here in a few weeks. So I think this district, as far as the vaccine side of things, is in really good shape.
I had a question about the teacher feedback. When you say that what we're doing is working, are you talking about safety, student achievement, or both? So you're finding that the engagement that students are able to give remotely it is functioning at a working level where they're able to receive the instruction that's coming and still learn.
I can only talk.
Thank you. And then just in our conversation moving forward, so when we're talking about bringing all kids back, are we still going to offer the distance learning academies? They still would have that choice. And then would students who are hybrid now have the choice to move to distance learning if they wanted to whenever they want? Okay, thank you.
And that would be, I'm wondering if they're going to touch on this when they come up, but my follow-up question would be, is there a staffing concern then if we change that model?
The staffing is always in flux. We offer students the opportunity every quarter to change, so we've been able to manage that to this point.
All right, go ahead, Ange.
All right. I can never tell if this is on. You know, you mentioned that it's working the way it is, and I think from a safety aspect, it seems like it is. But looking at the academics and the mental health of our students, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from people, it really seems like there is harm happening to our students. And I am concerned about delaying in person if we have a chance to do that. I'm also hearing from parents a concern that so many other schools are in person more than we are. Some schools in our area have been in person 5 days a week this whole school year, and they're wondering why can't we do that. So I'm just wondering, maybe Mike can answer that, or you, if you have thoughts.
I think the schools that are 5 days a week have less than probably 100 kids in them in the area. I know Rochester has not been in person at all, the secondary level, the entire school year. So part of it is a size issue. When we have only a few kids in a classroom, you're able to social distance and you can be in person. As far as, what I think I would recommend, and I was the one who opened it up for the discussion, Kim, sorry, that Mary Jo come up and give the parent feedback that we got from the survey. Because she'll show numbers and then she's going to give a lot of comments, and this can provide the board some more broader information on what's going on.
Great. Mary Jo, you want to come on up?
So after the last board meeting, when the discussion was, could we bring kids back at a secondary level, we took that and we did a quick survey to parents, or sent a survey to parents, and basically it was 2 questions. And the first question was for hybrid families only, and the questions were that I would like my student to attend school 4 days a week for the 4th quarter, or I would prefer to keep it as is. And so you can see where parents were at with their responses. I put the percentage and the number of parents that responded, so you could just see. So overwhelmingly, from a parent perspective, they're saying we'd like our kids back in school 4 days a week. The second question.
Can you tell us how many hybrid families, or how many that would be total?
Mark and Chris, help me with this. So I want to say we have about 900 at the high school, in person, 350 hybrid, Mark? Am I close? It's changed, so I didn't bring that data, so I'm sorry about that. That's okay. I'll give you an overall percent. It's 25% of the students are distance learning, both secondary or Southwest and high school.
And these parents that are answering could be answering for more than one student. They're answering for their whole family?
Yeah. That should say question 2. For distance learning parents only, basically it was asking them, if we went 4 days a week, would you, for 4th quarter, would you send your student on site now? And 31 parents responded, yes, I would send them on site. But the 59% said, no, I would keep my student in the model that it currently is for secondary. So those were the only 2 questions. And then there were a place that type comments, give us feedback. And parents were definitely more impassioned to get my kid into school. So what I did is I took the whole list of comments and I put a check if this would be, yep, they're in favor of 4 days a week, getting them back on site, and a circle or whatever if it's no, keep it as is, or no, I don't want my kids in school. And so overwhelming, parents were very passionate to put comments in if they felt they want their students back in school. So I didn't list all the comments here. I put a page of, so you could see the overall theme, because many comments were very similar. So if they were similar, I just picked one of them and put it up there. So you could see the broad base of the type of comments. So, you can see special education as an issue that the kids are suffering. there, back to Angie's comment, if some schools in the area are on site. So obviously, the second comment there, a family has an elementary student at St. Theo's and a student at Albert Lee in secondaries. At St. Theo's are full-time, let's get our kids back in school. So it's a lot of just impassioned comments by parents, wanting the entire day. They don't want the short day. And then these are the comments of, no, please keep it as is. Don't change the learning model. Sounds like a lot of work. I want my kid to finish distance learning for the year. Don't feel safe having full classes at this point. Students won't be vaccinated. COVID's still unpredictable. And so this is just a quick, again, it was a very quick survey. We sent it out on a Thursday and asked parents to complete it by the following Tuesday morning, Monday evening. And so those are the responses we got.
So these particular responses are not just from the hybrid families, these are from the hybrid and the distance learning?
Yes, so in the comment section, looking back, I could have done it in two categories. I did not. It was, if you're hybrid only, answer this question, distance learning, answer this question, and then it was just opened for everybody. Please give any feedback, comments, concerns. And so, yes, you're right, Jill, that is everybody.
So negative to positive or positive to negative comments, you said you counted?
Oh, so sorry, yeah, so I just kind of went down of, okay, this person wants 4 days a week, nope, this one doesn't. And that's why I'm saying the parents who responded were very impassioned to get us back in school 4 days a week, because it was 90%, I want kids back in school.
90% of the comments wanted kids back in school. Okay.
4 days a week. So that's a parent perspective.
Just go ahead and move on to now 9.2.4, the Mark Grosskaus and Chris Dibble potential quarter 4 framework. Thanks, guys, for joining us tonight.
Hey, good to be back. Good to see you guys again. All right. Exactly. Hey, it was like 5 today. It was a heat wave out there, wasn't it great? So at the last meeting a couple weeks ago, we were told to come up with a couple options we have. So the 3 options we came up with were to remain in the hybrid model with Fridays for the rest of the year. The rest of them switches to a different schedule. You'll see the high school will go 9:15 to 3:45. Southwest, 9:15 to 3:55. That 10 minutes is the bus cushion, because the buses come to Southwest, and so we're always 10 minutes behind the high school whenever we have that. That would be Monday through Thursday with a virtual Friday, and for deep cleaning in the buildings. And that would be for full classes, for full days, both schools. The third option, because the data tells us that the spread happens in upper ages more than the lower ages, would be for Southwest to come back full-time Monday through Thursday, Fridays virtual, and the high school staying on a hybrid type, A's on Monday, Wednesday, and the B's on Tuesday and Thursday. Tonight's our presentation to you, and then we would expect a decision by March 1st. That was more of an informational piece for the staff than it is for you guys. You guys are already on that one. So, Ashley, next slide. Thanks. Our full day options that we discussed this morning, if we were to go full time, would be these 2 different starting plans. We could start full days on Monday, March 22nd, which is the Monday after spring break. To make that happen, we would do a hybrid schedule on the week of March 8th. A's Monday, Wednesday, B's Tuesday, Thursday. That's the end of quarter 3 for students, with a teacher work day that Friday. The other benefit to that is a lot of our secondary staff are getting shots on March 10th, and what we've seen from the data is the second shot's the one that kind of knocks you down a little bit. And so not having a student contact day that Friday may be beneficial. Even after the first shot, I was a little hit for subs the day after that. We had a few people who showed some signs of illness after the first shot. The other option, if we're worried about the spring break uptick, would be to do a full hybrid week as scheduled, March 8th through the 12th. That would be an A, I believe, so we'd still do that Friday. And then the week we come back from spring break would be a hybrid schedule, Monday, Wednesday A's, Tuesday, Thursday B's, with that teacher prep day that Friday, and start full-time on Monday, March 29th. So those are two options that we discussed this morning, coming forward to see if we can get back into full-time, if that's the options you take there. So what would the change look like? This is our current hybrid schedule from 9:15 to 1:25. You'll see 28-minute class periods, 30 and 31 on the outside. It would switch to this. Ashley, next slide. All right. We would basically go to 48-minute classes. I had two different versions written up. This is the 8x48, and there was a 5x50, 2x57, or something like that, but it wasn't very good. So this would be a 48-minute schedule all the way down. It would take the current classes, combine them into one section, and then break them into 48-minute periods as opposed to 28. And the lunches are over here mostly for Doyle, because we've got to figure out how to double our length. The food service have laid off some people, or some people have left due to COVID concerns. And so he's got to figure out how we can get those students through the lunch in 25 minutes. So we may have to break these back up. But what you see is 20 minutes more per class period every day, so that the time does extend from there. And I think my final slide here is just a picture of what our classrooms look like. This is our health room down in 219. The one on the upper left is a 15-person classroom, and you can see how much closer the students get when we add the rest of those desks at 30. So the social distancing they were talking about up here earlier, and the contact tracing does become much more difficult. And I think now we're up to the high school.
Thanks, Chris. So this is our schedule right now that we work on. So we're on an A-B rotating day with virtual Fridays. So we're in 28-minute periods, and we run 3 lunches of 25 minutes basically to fulfill the teacher contract for their lunch period. So we're out at 1:15 right now. Our teachers do office hours after 1:15 to 2 o'clock, and then have their prep from 2 to the end of the day. But there's constant communication in the morning and the afternoon with our hybrid students and our distance learning. Many of our teachers do distance learning and hybrid at the same time. So they might have a section of distance learning and then go back teaching hybrid, and especially our math people on some of our electives. So this is what we do right now. Moving to the next one would be what we propose going to. So 9:15 to 3:45. We get much closer to our 50-minute period. They're about 48 minutes. Each class. You would be bringing 900 students back in the building in a full day, and so we would not be able to do social distancing in the high school. That would not be possible. We would be putting 300 kids in lunch, which right now we're at about 150. So we would bring that back to normal, and we would end our day at 3:45. Hopefully get the buses out in 5 minutes so that they get to Southwest in that time. So here what I did is the top right or top left-hand corner is a classroom that we did not remove all the desks from. The white pieces of paper are where kids are not allowed to sit, so we stay 6 feet. I've measured every room personally, ladies and gentlemen, for my friend Lisa, if no one else. The middle picture shows the kids' social distancing. Once again, we're at about 17 students per classroom right now. That's with half the students. The last one you can see just for visual, we use a lot of blue tape this year so that when our custodians come in at night to clean, we know where to put the desk back, so I wasn't measuring every day 6 feet. Next slide, please. This is Jim Haney's room in the bottom, or in the left-hand corner. This is what it would look like in Jim's classroom if we bring the students back. Once again, all those desks in the right-hand corner, we'd remove the paper and put the students in those seats. Questions about the high school? Oh, sorry. So I didn't have a picture of the students in the lunchroom because usually we're chatting with them, so I don't take pictures. In the left-hand side is where our tables are normally placed. You will see their staff during a staff development standards-based training, if you're wondering who Jeff Flygar is. The middle picture is what it looks like right now. I'm not sure if you've been to the high school, but we took out at least half of the lunchroom seating. And then Mr. Peak, Kevin Peak, who's a wonderful carpenter, built us beautiful plexiglass dividers, which my friends do not like. And we put 4 students to a table versus 8 right now. So they're 4 feet apart. The students do a magnificent job of staying in their seats for the most part. You understand high school kids socializing. They try to use, we've had kids try to FaceTime between the plexiglass. I told them this is an example of where we don't want to be in the future, so we got to be smart right now. So that's kind of what our lunchroom, that's going to be our biggest spot. We brought back backpacks this year, back to the high school because we want to keep the kids socially distanced apart. We do offer lockers. Most of the kids don't take advantage of them. We would still offer kids lockers, but we're trying to keep them out of gathering locations. Now I know that's the last slide, so questions of the secondary.
Are there any opportunities for outside seating during lunchtime? Or could there be?
We had that at Southwest. We have picnic tables that the city delivered to us, but I don't see it until April or maybe May till we're done. Just snow and it's muddy and it's wet, so it would be nice. But we used it from the fall all the way through till it got cold. And I think the tables are still out there, to tell you the truth, but they're very snow covered right now.
What about the bus company? We're going to be doubling, if we go to 4 days a week, we're going to be doubling the number of students that they transport now. Isn't that right? On the same day. Now they got half the students on Monday, half the students on.
We will, that's kind of why we're keeping the 2 tiers. So
Do they have enough buses to social distance on the bus?
They have assured me that we can do this. I haven't gotten into the specifics on the social distancing piece, but I can tell you if they come out with a new safe learning plan, I think they're going to throw out the social distancing on the buses. I really do. If they're to get the secondary kids back, so that is something we'll have to consider.
With that, if we go to the 4-day-a-week, are Fridays going to be distance learning, or will they be free days?
Virtual.
Virtual, okay.
Yep, virtual learning.
On the plan that had the hybrid for the high school and Southwest 4 days, I didn't notice any Friday flip-flop at the high school on that plan, so that's not a part of that plan?
Well, we could always look at that. We just went virtual just to keep it, we're trying to keep things simple for families, so if you had a student at Southwest.
I can see where that would not be simple for families. And one other comment, as long as I have the mic on. I think it was cool. Somebody suggested something about passing time. And, I'm no stranger to the high school, and boy, this is not even remotely close to social distancing when you have 900,000 kids in that building. Passing time is packed. I mean, it's shoulder to shoulder, usually. So, is it possible to somehow stagger passing time? I know that would really make things complicated.
I'm glad my secretary's not here to ask that question. I think it would be almost impossible. You have bells going off all the time. We don't even do bells right now during lunches because we'd have bells going off constantly during the day. So it would be very confusing. And
we would just be living with the shoulder-to-shoulder arrangement.
And we have worked some. I mean, all of our hallways are one way right now at Southwest. You have to go out the door. You go to the right. There's arrows on the floor, but doubling the number of people still doubles the chances of bumping into somebody.
Any other questions? Oh, Dave does. Sorry, Dave.
All right, can you hear me, Kim? We can. Okay, just a couple thoughts. I wanted to thank everyone for all this information. It's outstanding to not only hear about the survey, but to hear from our teachers and our staff, and just all the work that's been done has just been amazing to myself, and kudos to the entire district for that, and to our teachers and staff for all the extra work that they're doing right now, because you know, anytime we do something different, it's no different than if I'm out there potty training my son or my grandson. It's a totally different environment until we get used to it. And I think we have started to get used to the environment that we've been in. And hopefully that has helped some with learning. But I do believe down deep inside we can see that it probably hasn't been as ideal as we'd like it to be. I have heard from a number of parents comment about if we've got sports open, why can't we get our kids back into academics and get them in there? And again, under the realization that we do want to do it safely. And I like what Corey had said too, in a safe and consistent environment. And I know that's one thing that Mike and the administrative team had wanted to do at the beginning of the year. Let's make a decision. Let's stick with it. Let's not waver back and forth, because that's even harder on the kids. And speaking of the kids, I do think that this entire time, which is now basically a year, has really been as hard on their mental health as it has been on their academic prowess, and you know, being able to not only do what they've got to do, but hopefully learn a little bit extra and move on, which is what we all want to do in life. One thought on passing times is, gosh, if we're down to 3 minutes on that, yeah, I've been up there and spoken a lot of classes at the school, and shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow is definitely what I've seen before. But hopefully, if we can get it done in 3 minutes, that will at least keep within that, you know, much less time, 5 times less than what the state or the CDC talks about for 6 feet within 15 minutes. And then finally, I think if we do keep that distance learning option, that does give everybody that opportunity to say that if they aren't feeling comfortable at this time for their children to be in school, that they do have an option. So thanks again. I would like to see our kids get back as much as we can, as soon as we can, to get them back to a little bit more of what I still consider a normal learning model. Thanks.
I have one more question. So if we do bring the kids back 5 days or 4 days a week, how important is keeping Friday virtual learning as opposed to 5 days a week?
It's very important from the cleaning angle's one thing, but the other thing that we have to do is we have teachers who are teaching virtually during the day. We're required by the Department of Education to provide them an extra half hour of time to prepare. They don't have that time during the day, so they will have it either early in the morning on Friday or later in the afternoon on Friday. So as long as we are doing multiple models here, we're going to have to keep that Friday.
That just brings up a question for me on those teachers that are, you said that some of your teachers at the high school are doing both. What does that look like?
Nothing would change with their schedule. So like I can think of, I have an art teacher that does 2 distance learning photography classes, 1 present in-person hybrid, and then does 2 drawing. And she just bounces back and forth. So she's jumping on and off of Google Meets with kids and setting things up so that students can be successful, and she's working to engage them. As you know, Mr. Score, engaging them in class is one thing, engaging them through a non-positive social media in their view is a different thing. So,
Does anybody else have anything? Go ahead and.
Just one last comment, kind of back to the schools that have already been doing this. I'm sure a lot of them are small, and that's a good point. Not all of them are small, though. And I think it's worth considering, you know, across the country, we've had schools already do this. And, you know, I know the regulations vary from state to state. You know, in Iowa, we've had a lot more schools be open. It's easier for them to do that. But I think we can look at those schools, and it should give us some confidence that maybe we can't, be quite as easy as there because we have different rules here, but not too far from us, people are open and they are being safe. So I think that should give us some confidence that we can do it too.
I guess I have one further comment about the, so an extended time for the secondary. I really would like to get the students back in school for a longer day, but I do see two issues that could come up for some families with that, and one would be the older student who does the child care for the younger student. Are there any supports that the district can give those families?
We actually just conducted a survey on that. Mary Jo, why don't you come on up? We conducted a survey of elementary families who we informed them that elementary release time would be, we haven't even discussed this, but we'd push the elementary release time up 20 minutes to 2:30 instead of 2:50. So we wanted to know the impact on families, and so she can give you the information, and then we can talk about some potential solutions to that.
Thank you, Chris and Mark, for sharing.
Yeah, we sent out the survey the end of last week, mid-last week, and just closed it yesterday with that question of if secondary should go an extended day, will that cause a hardship in your family with the older sibling watching your elementary student? And so we had 245 families respond, and 34 said, yes, I would need some type of help. The rest said no. So there was some. As long as I'm talking survey, we also had surveyed if we had went back on Fridays, or not if, when, and we added 12 more students to the Friday childcare who had older siblings who were watching the elementary students on the virtual Fridays.
So 37 students. So I talked to the Big Nine superintendents. Mankato has switched to two-tier. Winona's been doing two-tier for years. Rochester switching to two-tier, and they have brought up that identical issue. Mankato, Winona says it's not an issue anymore. Families have figured it out, but Mankato said that they provide some sort of after-school care for those students, and that is something we would be looking at doing. Whether it would be by each building or if we would have a centralized site is something we have to talk with the principals about.
Thank you. And then I would see the other issue would be some of the secondary students do have jobs that start earlier, especially when they're planning on their day being extra short. But at this point, academics, I believe, needs to come before employment when it can.
Well, if there's, Bruce, go ahead. Okay, well, great discussion, everybody. Thank you so much. We will be addressing this at the March 1st meeting as an action item, potentially.
Yes,
We'll
I mean, we can certainly, what I will provide for you on March 1st is a better look at our current data, because as I stated, and as you saw, it is starting to really come down. We'll see on March 1st whether it is maintained or continued to drop. And really, I think the March 1st is your decision point, or our decision point as a district as far as fourth quarter, because we are going to have to inform families. Families are going to have to make the decision on whether they want to stay distance learning or go to distance learning or stay in person. And then we would also need to prepare the buildings if that's the direction that we were to go. So.
Okay, we'll again, thanks everybody for your time and talents and your presentation. We appreciate it very much. Number 10, effective and efficient operations. There's nothing there. So Before we adjourn, I would just like to state our mission: to ensure individual academic, social, and emotional growth that leads to engaged citizens and lifelong learners. Our next meeting is Monday, March 1st. Meeting's adjourned.